J-Dog it is. Should have just said yes. I wouldn't have cared. You done fucked up. And we are live. And when I say we, I mean myself, Josh Engleman, my co-host, Greg Ehrenberg, and the man behind the virtual glass. That would be J-Dog. This is MLB Live Before Lock. We are brought to you by Odds Shopper. We've got 3 just amazing baseball games to break down over the next hour and probably some NBA draft because I don't know how to talk about 3 baseball games for an hour. Before we get started, hit the like button, please. Subscribe to the channel. That word's hard. Subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you know when everything goes live. Greg, how are you?
I'm good. I try to say subscribe to Stokastic 3 times fast.
Nope. Too many S's, dude. Can't do it.
So,
too
by
much.
the way, I took notice of how slow you did the intro, which is maybe a good process for us. Just talk as slowly as possible to get through every single point for tonight's 3-game slate. But if you guys have any questions today, there has never been a better time to ask us questions during a show in chat. And it could be just general baseball strategy, pitchers you like, stacks, whatever it might be, because Josh and I are going to be able to get to those questions today. So this will be a good hang vibe, but we're not going to just strictly be able to talk about baseball and this individual 3-game slate for a full hour. So any questions you guys have, it will be very much appreciated.
It certainly will. As long as I don't have to talk about the early slate or main slate, whatever we want to call it, because I got wrecked in baseball this morning. It is the exact opposite of how my first day of golf went. At one point in time, I opened up my baseball lineups and I was just like, oh, nothing is in the money. That's really fun.
Yeah, it was not good for me either. I played the early slate on DK today, and the late slate I'm playing on FanDuel for no particular reason other than just the time I was reserving entries after all the different content meetings I had to do today. FanDuel just had better contest offerings than DraftKings. And I was like, oh, that's more appealing to me today. So I'm playing more on FanDuel today. I have a build for DraftKings also, just for the purpose of being able to talk about it. Are you playing on DK, FanDuel, or both?
Neither. I'm not playing any of this nonsense. I'm going to pay attention to the NBA draft tonight. I did do my full prep, though. I ran my sim crunch and everything. So I have all of my data locked and loaded and ready to go. I can talk as if I were playing this slate, but the last thing that I wanted to do is just even care about baseball with the draft tonight. I got too much to talk about.
Do you have any particular rooting interest for the draft tonight?
No, not really. I mean, like in general, I just want each team to take a guy that fits their team. And like, I just want the best possible outcome across the board. I just want the product to improve. I don't really care, generally speaking. Like anybody that thinks they know how good people are going to be, those people are wrong and dumb. I certainly don't know it. The process of evaluating college basketball talent is basically impossible, or international or whatever.
I just want everybody to have a good time.
It's fun. It's fun. I want trades. Like my rooting interest is chaos. Like as many trades and like, oh, that guy's a reach type stuff. I'm in for that too. But like if you have an opinion on who's the best prospect out of the top 3 guys, like I don't care.
No, I don't even know who most of these guys are, to be honest. But
I didn't mean you personally. I just meant like the collective view.
No. I certainly. So I mean, especially I know who the top handful of prospects are, mostly just from either the NCAA tournament or betting purposes. But I mean, I like mid first round picks. I have no clue. I don't know if you saw this, but I know that like DraftKings has already posted Rookie of the Year odds. So and you're doing the draft show tonight over on Playback, correct?
Correct. We are going live tonight on Playback and on YouTube per J-Dog on the back end here. Told me that that's totally going to work. So that should be pretty good. We shall see at the very least. But yeah, we're going live tonight at 8 until basically nobody wants to be on the stream anymore, I guess. I don't know. The lottery just sounds like the right amount of time. If it starts to tail off, we'll get out of there. If it's a bumping affair, we'll stick around even longer. Who the hell knows? It's sort of TBD for an end, but we are kicking it off at 8 o'clock tonight, which is going to be fun. I love chopping it up for the lottery. Just love basketball in general. It's certainly going to be better than talking about a 3-game MLB slate.
Yeah, so I'll jump on with you at 8, and then we'll see where it goes. I'll hop in. I don't have anything to do today. My My brother's gone. My sister-in-law's gone. They went into New York City to go see John Mulaney at Madison Square Garden. It was, my brother is turning 30 years old next month, and he really likes John Mulaney. Saw that John Mulaney's playing at MSG. So I was like, here's an early birthday present. And now the downside is there's nobody here to cook dinner for me. So, it was kind of an error on my part.
Yeah, I blame you for that one. I'm going to hit on a couple questions that we've had so far. First two were for me. How does Josh feel about Liv? I don't care at all. Money is going to talk in all of these scenarios.
So Eric is very passionate about it, and I've gotten chat to really, really troll him during some of the shows we do. So we work in a lot of different, we work in a lot of Liv references as we go, and he gets upset every time.
Josh, how far are you from the Outer Banks? As the crow flies, I'm incredibly close. There is no mechanism for me to get there quickly other than by speedboat or helicopter. If I needed to go by car, it would take me like 6+ hours. But it's way closer on a map if you draw a line than it is if you try to take the roads that will lead there. It's really annoying.
But that's somebody on the internet who's trying to triangulate your position and where you live, and they're just going to show up at your house in a couple days now.
Technically speaking, I'm very far away from the Outer Banks because I'm in Pennsylvania right now and not North Carolina. So that also doesn't help. General strategy questions. Is Joe Musgrove worth the price? So if it's like an actual question about one of these games, we're going to get to that. So if you have like actual questions about any one of these teams or players or whatever, when we get to that game, just feel free to drop it in. We will basically be able to touch on everything. Draft is at 8. Larry, I am team Woj, not team Insider Info.
There we go. I'm on team Woj as well. And I know there's a lot of people in our industry, unnamed people, you could find them if you go online, who are just betting all kinds of like big money bets based on somebody's brother's friend's cousin who they know has a source somewhere. I'm also team Woj. I bet Jabari Smith a couple of times, and solely based because Woj reported that he's going first.
Malakar said Ivy going to Detroit, I hope. Per all of the statistical models, Ivy not the best rated prospect coming out. He has like the biggest gap between his mock spot and like the aggregate consensus for stat models. So I'm really curious to see where that ends up. You want to just start talking about this?
Let's do it.
All right. Last one. Hoff. I'm totally okay with Mane going to Bayern Munich. We had a good run. I'm happy to get the 40 mil on the way out the door. We've reloaded with young talent. It's going to be all right. He's a great guy.
Yeah, that means nothing to me. I'll take your word for it.
He is a great guy, though. Yankees and Astros. 4.7 run implied total for the Yanks, 3.9 for the Stros. Jameson Taillon and Framber Valdez. Taillon, in the last update that I procured, 26.4% owned. Framber Valdez, 26.8% owned. I have Valdez by slightly more than that. One at 7,900, that's Taillon. One at 9,100, that's Valdez. Who do you like more? Who's properly owned? Just talk about the pitchers for 10 minutes, please.
Yeah, for 10 minutes. Why not longer? Why not go for 15? The answer, probably because I can't. But so here's the biggest issue with both. Well, there's two big issues with these pitchers. First of all, neither of them generate very many strikeouts. Typically an issue for DFS purposes. Another thing that's problematic for these guys, one of them's facing the Yankees, the other one's facing the Houston Astros. These are two of the best offenses that we have in baseball. There's a lot of downside to rostering these pitchers as well. From a safety standpoint, when I'm paying up a pitcher, I really just prefer to get to Joe Musgrove. I have no issue just playing a whole bunch of Musgrove and then just hoping that he is the guy today. At the very least, I think he has a whole bunch of floor. So I'm underweight to the field on both Taillon and Valdez, and it really has less to do with them. Well, actually, it does have something to do with them individually because they're not really high strikeout upside pitchers, but I just very, very strongly prefer paying up for Musgrove than either of those two.
I certainly prefer Musgrove as well. The $800 gap above Valdez is not enough to offset it. Like, I think he's better than the $800 gap that we're seeing. I don't know if he's 60 to 27 in ownership of a gap. Like that's a pretty strong. I'd be more likely to have like 45% Musgrove and like redistribute the rest of that. Like, honestly, I think that Kremer is actually getting underrepresented at 7% just because it's a 6-game slate, and at 5,500, like, it doesn't take a ton. Anybody can be the best starting pitcher on a slate, and 7% seems a little bit low. But otherwise, I'm with you. Musgrove looks like the guy at the top. I have Taillon and Framber Valdez as basically the exact same guy. Valdez came out of my sim at 34%. Taillon came out at 32%. Like, if you've got the salary, go higher. If you don't, go the other direction. But I don't really have much of a take here because I have these guys grading out identical relative to salary.
Yeah. And then once again, if you just kind of look at, what's the and actually, this is one of the other reasons I prefer FanDuel also, is I only have to pick one of these pitchers today on FanDuel, and Joe Musgrove is a pretty easy choice. Once you get into DraftKings, where you actually have to play two of these guys, and it's like, I feel good about Musgrove, I have concerns about every single other pitcher on the slate. They're either bad, they're in a tough matchup, and it's just really hard for me to confidently want to play a lot of either Taillon or Framber Valdez. So just because I'm overweight to the field on Musgrove and the builds I've made on DraftKings, I end up coming in underweight on both Taillon and Valdez by a little bit.
Okay. I just realized that I didn't grab the right FanDuel salary sheet. So now I do have. Is this labeled differently on it? Sure is. So is this FanDuel late? That's the ownership I need to grab?
Yeah, you want to go to.
I missed it. Yeah, I got it now.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I was missing this game, I think.
Yeah, there's so many slates that I don't care about when it comes to baseball. Like, you go into the lobby for FanDuel or DraftKings, less so today because it's a 3-game slate. If there's 13 games being played, there's like a 2-game slate that starts in like the evening for some reason. Then you got the main slate. Then you got 8 slates in between. It's so much going on.
All right, let's talk bats here. We have the Astros 3rd in stack score. We have the Yankees 4th. That is the same spot that they rank from an aggregate ownership perspective. I have the Astros 4th in my stack score. I have the Yankees 5th. I guess I'd like to say that I prefer the pitching, but there's no getting away from anything on a 3-game slate. So if you just, on the surface, in a vacuum, do you prefer the Astros or the Yanks?
Yeah, so I prefer the Astros on.
Great porn bot today.
What? Let's see. What does Pornbot have to add to the conversation? Pornbot, no whores, real cheap, fuck dates.
Yeah,
it's a good pitch.
I don't know why no whores. That's a shame, right?
Yeah.
J-Dog, what do you think? You're team whores, right?
I think we all are. So everybody's. I think we should make a new designation, because I'd said before that, for today, team inside sources, that's Jabari Smith. I mean, team inside sources, that's Boncaro tonight. Then you've got team Woj, that's Jabari Smith. Why can't Chet be team horse?
I think he probably is.
Yeah,
it's got to be plural. You're going to need at least 2 for him.
It's good.
A lot of body.
You know what I like about Pornbot is just when you think you're in a good, like, you feel like you've seen everything Pornbot has to offer to us in chat. They just come out and they get these new pitches where it's like, no whores, ! And it's, all right, I'm interested. I want to read the rest of this.
I feel like if I typed in naked-hd.xyz, it's not going to go well for me. Should I try it? Should I see if that's an actual site?
Listen, there's been no better time to try it than during a 3-game baseball slate.
XYZ. I'm afraid that if I hit enter and like the whole computer goes away, my apologies, guys.
This is Josh's excuse to bail on a 3-game MLB slate now.
Oh God. Okay, so it takes me straight into it changes the URL to look-a-woman/TT. Honey Caddy started messaging me that said, "Hi there. Are you all alone now? Look what I got for you," and then sent me a topless picture.
Nice. All right, you're off to a good start. Although, to be honest,
I closed it.
She seems. I don't want to be judgmental, but she seems a little bit like a whore to me. I know that's.
I thought they said it was no whores.
Yeah, that's what they said, but I don't know about this lady.
We also got a super chat said from Ban Sean V that said, "Fade anything." Sean V says, "Josh is the man. Greg is an okay guy too." That's where we're at. What team do you like more? I know I asked the question. I already don't remember.
Oh, just team whores.
Oh yeah, team whores. Astros or Yankees? I think that's the game.
That. Oh, okay. I thought we were still on the other topic. So this is going to be different across FanDuel and DraftKings. So for DK purposes, I prefer the Yankees just because they're so low owned over on DK. On DraftKings, only 12% ownership going to the Yankees, which I just think has them being underrepresented. Or actually, we have an ownership update now for FanDuel as well, where they're also going way under owned. So the answer is the Yankees for me, only picking up 10% ownership on FanDuel, 12% over on DraftKings. At those kind of numbers, that is just way too low on a 3-game slate for a team with as much upside as the Yankees.
I wish I had a preference between these two. I don't. I really don't. They're neck and neck in my crunch, separated by 1%.
Yeah, 2x the ownership on the
on FanDuel. Though. On FanDuel.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, sorry, I was looking at that from a DraftKings perspective. Like I've got their aggregate WRC plus basically the same. They're separated by 0.003 points of ISO. I don't. This game is impossible as far as I'm concerned. I like Tyon quite a bit. I like Valdez quite a bit. And I'll never have a problem getting to Yankees bats or Astros bats. You're not going to get that kind of analysis anywhere else, folks.
No. The Yankees and the Astros, good at hitting baseballs. But I mean, being totally serious about this for tournament purposes, looking at the ownership right now, and I'm about to rerun my lineups, I love getting to the Yankees. This is so low owned for them on a 3-game slate. So they're neck and neck with the Padres. And we just got the Padres lineup that came out. And Manny Machado, did you see the Machado injury the other day? I know you're not super plugged into baseball, but
I don't even know. It would have to be on Instagram in some way. There's no way I could ever know. Or they would have had to play the Braves while I was home. So
Manny Machado the other day has a horrific looking ankle injury. He turns his foot and I'm watching it and I can't figure out, did his ankle snap or is his shoe just came off and went on sideways? Because that's the same thing. You know, when you watch the video when Gordon Hayward got hurt, it's so ridiculous looking that you almost think his shoe is just on sideways. So I thought the same thing when Machado got hurt. And then I realized that it was just because his shoe actually was on sideways after he rolled his ankle. But he was expected to play today. And now he's not in the Padres lineup. So the fact that he is not playing today, I prefer the Yankees. We're getting similar ownership on both the Yankees and the Padres. And I just think the Yankees offense is considerably better, especially when the Padres are missing Manny Machado. So the Yankees are going to be the team I'm most overweight to for stacking purposes.
Nice. Yeah, the Gordon Hayward injury was awful to watch. I just turned the game off. I was like, I'm out. And like the entire arena was just not the same. Like clearly all the players were not interested in continuing that one. It was uncomfortable and gross. Anyway.
And that was also, wasn't that like 4 minutes into the season?
Yeah.
If not less.
I would say it was less. I think that it was less, but yeah, it was not. It was quick. Very quick. I would have said 2 minutes, but it was quick.
Think on paper how good that Celtics team was.
Yeah, I feel like Hayward was really good.
Dude, they had Kyrie, Horford, Gordon Hayward when Gordon Hayward was an all-star caliber player. And then their young guys were Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, Terry Rozier, who I was never quite as high on Terry Rozier as the public, but to have him as a bench guy, you know, that's pretty good depth. Like that's an absurd team.
They were loaded. They were absolutely loaded. Yeah, Kevin Wares at Louisville was awful.
Oh, I remember where I was sitting when the Kevin Ware injury happened. I was afraid to get out of the seat I was sitting in for a few hours because I was like, oh, really? That could just happen to my leg. It could just snap in half.
They were, I mean, like any one of these that somebody's like so-and-so's is worse than the other one. Like all of these are like the same kind of awful. I mean, there was a time where I thought Willis McGahee's knee was the worst one I had ever seen. And there's been like 100 worse injuries.
Yeah, somebody in chat, Jake Williams, Joe Theismann, that's a brutal one, especially because it's just forcibly broken. For me, mentally, the ones are the worst are the gruesome looking non-contact injuries because I'm like, oh, that could happen to me at any point in time.
Yeah. Like I could walk anywhere and just No, it's just I don't even want to talk about it any longer. What we should talk about, though, is the schedule for the rest of the night, and that's easy. The NBA draft show comes up immediately after this at 8:00. So a little bit of a break before we get to lock after this Yankees Astros game, but after that, we're gonna head on out and we're gonna talk NBA draft. Free content for tonight, though. That is actually going to be a benefit to you guys. If you're playing this slate, you are in luck. MLB projections are free today. If you're watching these shows, this is probably the piece of content you want the most. If you haven't paid to be at awesemo.com, if you haven't paid to be at stokastic.com yet, damn it. Oh man, it's so difficult. Like it's hard. I've said it for so long. It's so much easier to call him J-Dog.
Yeah. So the other thing too, also is like, when's the last time you've looked at an ad read other than when it's a new sponsor and I really don't know what it is? For the most part, all of these ad reads are just internalized and I'm just doing it verbatim, what I've done 1,000 other times. So it is an adjustment period. And you've been doing it for a couple years longer than me.
Yeah. I don't look at any reads unless it's a new company. So yeah, stokastic.com. Go there to get the free projections. All right. It's 6:23. We're making progress here. I wouldn't have thought that we wasted 23 minutes already, so that's good. Hit the like button if you haven't done it already. The rewards should come in the form of likes on a day like today. We're gonna have a good time. Know
what? Circling back on something, because somebody brought this up. Also, Jake Williams in chat, the Anderson Silva injury versus Chris Weidman. That was really bad.
And then Weidman.
Yeah, and then Weidman also just, and his was against Uriah Hall. But the worst, I can't remember who it is, but there was a UFC fight about 18 months ago at the Apex where somebody took an elbow to the side of the head and ripped their ear off. That was pretty gross.
Oh, that one was bad. The Corey Hill leg break was really bad. I mean, like even Connor's was awful. Like it's really gross to see. I mean, it's not visible during the fight, but MVP's knee on Cyborg in Bellator that broke his skull and like the ensuing X-ray that looks like he got hit with a softball in the center of his face. That's rough.
Yeah, that was, I agree. That's once you see the X-ray that was posted online afterwards, that's pretty bad. Talking about the Conor one, this is what's so impressive to me about Conor McGregor. He breaks his leg.
Shit.
Yeah, immediate. He goes into promotion mode immediately. He breaks his leg. Think like when Weidman breaks his leg, the amount of pain that he was in. Anderson Silva breaks his leg, the amount of pain he's in. And McGregor more or less has the same injury as those guys. Of course, who knows the different pain levels that each of them were feeling. But Conor immediately gets on the mic and goes and just goes and says to Dustin, "Your wife is in me DMs," and he starts trying to set up another fight. The fact that you could be in that amount of pain and you're still like, how do I make money off this in the future is ridiculous to me.
It's the absolute best. Or like the Frank Mir arm breaks on Nogueira and Tim Sylvia are both like super gross.
Tim Sylvia, and I'm a pretty big advocate for more fighter pay in the UFC. Tim Sylvia is one of the number one reasons why. He just started GoFundMe last year to get another surgery done on his arm because the UFC had no part of wanting to pay for any of his medical expenses.
Yeah, that's wild because obviously it happened in the cage. Like, I don't really care too much about retroactively getting Tim Sylvia money, but like at the very least, we know why his arm is injured because it got maimed in the cage for sure.
Yeah, and is what happened is if I remember correctly, because this was also like a year ago, but I remember reading the GoFundMe is the reason he had to have another surgery is one of the screws in his arm started to protrude through his arm.
Yeah.
Which I imagine is not
spin
comfortable.
Itself back out of the bone.
Yeah. And it was getting infected. So he was potentially going to have his arm amputated. And he was like,
Kyrie
I need help.
And like the UFC,
right? What's that?
I think Kyrie had an issue like that where like there was an infection in one of the screws in his knee or something along those lines.
Could be. I don't remember that one.
I'm almost positive.
Leftorium, don't worry. We're going to get to the baseball games.
Yeah. If you didn't come here to listen about it, then leave. Just leave then. I don't care.
We've got three games to talk about. We could go through the entire slate in 5 minutes, but we've got an hour show to do. We're trying to make it entertaining as well.
Yeah. White Sox and Orioles. Johnny Cueto, Dean Kremer. Cueto is 41% owned. That's the second highest mark on the slate. And then Dean Kremer is 7% owned. Just right out of the gate, I want to have more of Kremer. I don't think 7% is correct on a 3-game slate. Do you have any thought there?
Absolutely, totally agree. And do I feel good about Dean Kremer? Absolutely not. This is not somebody I'd look at as being a great starting pitcher, but by the same merits, I don't think Johnny Cueto is any good either. So, no. I mean, Johnny Cueto at this point in his career is, let's see, how old is Johnny Cueto and how many, if you're playing cash games, Johnny Cueto is a fine option in cash games, by the way, but for tournament purposes, this is way too much ownership going to Johnny Cueto. He's 36 years old. His average fastball velocity at this point in his career is now 91.5 miles per hour, which is, it's down about 3 miles per hour from when he was at his peak. His numbers this year are also not terrible, looking with a 2.95 ERA, 3.25 expected ERA. But keep in mind that he's only pitched 42 innings. And if you look at his last few years in the big leagues, you have to go all the way back to 2016 to find a year where he was actually a viable player that belonged in the big leagues. I don't think he's improved from 2016 to 2022. I just think he's pitched 42 innings where we've had kind of fluky circumstances. So I get the matchup is pretty good for him today relative to some of the other pitchers we've talked about. But I cannot get behind the sort of ownership he's garnering.
In Steamer, Cueto has a 19% K rate and a 478 projected FIP. Kremer has a 21% K rate and a 456 FIP. From a fantasy perspective, the only thing that benefits Johnny Cueto today is the fact that he goes deep into games and should go like a full inning deeper.
But and I mean, he does have an easier matchup, but beyond that, I think these guys are fairly comparable on a skill level.
Yeah. And like, it's not that much better of a matchup. I've got the lineups that I have in right now. It's a weighted 108 weighted runs created plus for the White Sox, 105 for the Orioles. We're not talking about dramatically different teams here. So once again, if you're playing large field contests, 7% owned Kremer is wrong. For me, at least. Have we gotten an ownership update any time recently? 11 minutes ago. Boom.
Yeah. That's fairly recent.
Yeah. Recent enough. Let me just grab this now and then grab the top stacks and then we can continue to talk here because, we could just kick the can down the road a little bit.
Yeah. And also Dean Kremer, DraftKings specifically, I have no interest in him on FanDuel on a single pitcher site. I don't really have that much interest in Cueto on a single pitcher site either. This is something else too, why I just prefer this slate for FanDuel purposes over DraftKings. I do not want to have to roster more shitty pitchers than I feel like I have to. And you're just kind of forced to when you play DraftKings. But that's also why I think Dean Kremer on a slate where kind of all the pitchers outside of Musgrove I have some concerns with. Give me the one who's the cheapest that also has the least amount of ownership.
Night slate, DraftKings. I actually think that I'm ready to continue to talk about everything that we've been talking about. That's fun. Nope, ruined it already because I'm dumb. Super, super dumb. Where did my cursor go? Okay. Well, that's fun. People are learning. So I got a new laptop and I'm just not used to like the buttons and shit yet. I switched to a Mac. Everything is like backwards and different for me now. So it's been a bit of a journey.
Using the command button is different.
It's taken me a lot. I screw up copying and pasting pretty consistently. Okay, so from a bats perspective, at least on DK, the White Sox are first in top stack, first in top value, first in ownership, and first in stack score. The Orioles are second and second and second and second. Seems like we should be targeting this bad boy, so I'm going to throw it to you here. Who's your preference, White Sox or Orioles?
Here's what's tough about it is even though, like you said, these are two of the teams with the highest top stack odds on the slate, they're also the only two teams that are negatively leveraged right now because they are both picking up a whole bunch of ownership, which it's also a little weird to me how much ownership Baltimore is projected for because this is not a spot the field usually flocks to. Johnny Cueto versus the Baltimore Orioles offense, the field playing both sides of it feels a little odd to me. So I like the Baltimore side just because we're also getting a little bit of leverage off of all the ownership Cueto is getting. But at the same time, too, the field is there in a pretty big way. So If I could only play one of these teams, I would lean towards the Orioles because of the ownership on Cueto. Whereas if you're rostering the White Sox, you're getting a team that number one is overowned and the number two is going up against a pitcher that's not really picking up any ownership. So I'd rather go to Baltimore, but I am a little bit underweight to both of these teams right now. And I favor getting to the Yankees, the Astros who we talked about before, and then also the Padres who we're going to talk about in a second.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a little bit easier to try to get to Orioles bats over the White Sox bats. You get that, sort of flipped over leverage against Cueto. I obviously am advocating for a bit more Kremer, so that's going to naturally just give me less opportunities to get to the White Sox. But I do want to hit on this super chat because I think it's kind of relevant for right now. George/Jorge, constant viewer of the show, so thanks for the super chat. Appreciate it. Would you set any max hitters versus pitchers on FC for a 3-game slate and then top stack and pitcher for a single game GPP on DraftKings? I would probably set max hitter versus pitcher to 2 today.
I have it to 1.
Okay. Yeah. No real issue either direction. Depends a little bit will depend on like what kind of stack rules you're setting up, but there's certainly no issue with having at least one hitter on the opposite side of your pitcher for today.
Yeah. So I went with 1. I don't have a particular issue with 2. So for a 3-game slate, also, you might find that if you go to 0, you could have issues building lineups in Fantasy Cruncher because there's just a limited amount of options and it could create some salary constraints. So at a minimum, I would recommend 1, but I think 2 is viable as well. If you go anything beyond that, you're probably just hedging your lineups too much.
Agreed. What else can we talk? Like Tim Anderson is 49% owned. That is just a massive number. Do I have him as my number 1 shortstop? That'd be interesting to see. Shortstop.
So here's one of the issues is that there are not very many shortstops to choose from. Actually, that's not true. I thought this was going to be one of those slates. That's not the case at all.
Why? Okay. Unselect shortstop.
Sometimes you play while you're looking it up. Sometimes I'll play these 3 or 4 game slates for baseball, and it'd be like, how come I'm getting to so much of Tim Anderson or some random player? And then you click on the position and you realize, oh, this team is resting their shortstop. Somebody else is playing a guy at shortstop who doesn't actually have shortstop eligibility, and there's only 3 eligible players. But that is not the case for today. We have Tim Anderson, CJ Abrams, Ha-Seong Kim, Jorge Mateo, Kiner Falefa, Alcantara, Richie Martin, Dubon, Gregorius, Bryson Stott. I'm not saying these guys are good, but I don't just want to only be playing Tim Anderson either.
No, while I agree that he is unquestionably the number 1 shortstop option today, I have him 2 full fantasy points ahead of Gregorius, who is second. I don't think that he is the high scorer at shortstop 50% of the time. I think you can very easily get to some other low-owned options. Gregorius, in fact, at 4% ownership, crazy. Bryson Stott at 2% ownership, crazy to me. So there are some options if you want to try. Like if you've made a stack on DraftKings, like a 5-2-1, I think it's very easy to not have and it's a White Sox stack. I think it's very easy to not have Tim Anderson and make that a different shortstop.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
I don't know if I have anything else that I want to talk about for the White Sox and Orioles other than they're probably a little overowned.
Yeah, both offenses look overowned to me. Johnny Cueto is overowned. I don't want to say Dean Kramer is my favorite play from this game because
he's mine.
Relative to ownership, he is mine as well. But I also don't want to make it seem like I've got myself crazy attached to Dean Kramer. I just think he warrants more exposure than what the field is giving him, and everything else kind of looks overowned.
I got nothing else here. So that's going to move us on to talk a little bit about Odds Shopper, presenting sponsor of this show. This read's gotten really easy because I actually believe everything that I'm about to say. It's a great product and it costs you absolutely nothing, and it'll only help you. There is no downside to using it. If you bet on sports, you should use it so that you could swap or so you can shop around for lines. If you're not trying to get the best line that you can get to, then you're just costing yourself money. No one else benefits from you getting it other than the sports book. So just get the best line you can. Unfortunately for me, I live in a state filled with absolute morons. So they did not vote into legislature sports betting by 1 vote yesterday. So thank you very much, state of North Carolina, for being just absolute idiots. Really appreciate that. If I did have that ability, however, I would use OddsShopper constantly to find outstanding lines that I could just immediately get to. Or I would go directly to the player props, where we show projections, expected ROI, expected win rates, all of this stuff at a fingertip that takes you directly to a bet. And again, it's completely free, costs you nothing. Just sign up. We want your email address. I think it's a pretty good ask for the things that come out of there as a free product. So please go check out OddsShopper. It even helps you from a DFS perspective. It'll allow you to cross-reference player props pretty quickly, might help you break some ties for individual plays in your lineup. Just check out OddsShopper, everybody. It's fantastic.
While we're there.
Oh, go for it.
I
don't know what it is, but go for it.
Yeah, I wanted to try to find some bets and see what's changed from this morning. So at least earlier today, Joe Musgrove, his over-under for strikeouts was 5.5, and that looked pretty low to me. But I'm trying to find out where it is now.
I'll say this much. I have it over 5.5.
Yeah, that was the first thing I bet this morning when I looked at it. I can't find his prop anymore. Looks like I just pulled it up. It looks like 6.5 is the number now. So something else that I think is pretty valuable and something you'll notice when you look at OddsShopper, try to look at it first thing in the morning, because things that are really positive ROI bets, there's a good chance they are not going to exist later on in the day when something's like Musgrove 5.5 strikeouts. Yesterday, there was one Sonny Gray over under 3.5 strikeouts. Earlier in the week, there was a Kevin Gausman over under 4.5 strikeouts. Typically, those numbers get bet up pretty quickly. So just make it a part of your daily routine. If you are somebody who bets on props, just check this out, because it only takes 10, 15 seconds, and you'll be able to find bets that are probably not going to exist later and are good value.
It's a good plug, man. Appreciate you. Ooh, wait, what do we got here? Nope, never mind. Doesn't matter. Stupid Twitter. Stupid Twitter. Wow, another blown no-hitter in the top of the ninth. Frankie Montas blew the no-hitter on 2 wild pitches. Well, I guess 1 wild pitch. Wait, no.
No, that wouldn't.
You can't blow a no-hitter at all on a wild pitch.
No, so let's see what happened. So they gave up 2 runs. So he went into the 9th inning with a no-hitter, and they lost the game. So what happened in the 9th?
Apparently two wild pitches.
All right, so 9th inning, walk. Oh, he didn't even pitch the 9th inning. So Montas.
Okay. Well, Montas, I really don't care.
Listen, you brought it up. I'm going to finish the story now.
Well, Stokastic MLB brought it up.
Oh, okay. Well, anyway, they took him out of the game when he had a no-hitter and a lead, and the bullpen came in and blew it.
There we go. Well, let's talk about other teams then. Padres and Phillies, Joe Musgrove and Ranger Suarez. Joe Musgrove coming into the crisp 65% ownership, Suarez in at 38. Do you look at the 65% ownership for Musgrove and have any concerns?
I'm overweight to it. I have a couple of stacks for leverage against him, but I feel so much better about him as a pitching option than anybody else on today's slate that I'm just going to lock and load with Musgrove. I once again, is fair ownership at that number? Maybe not, but I think the floor is still enough for me to play a bunch of them in large field GPPs. And then where I'm not playing them, it's just a couple lineups. I'm taking Philly stacks just for leverage purposes on a really small slate, but I don't really like the Phillies either. But I think Musgrove is the guy to go to. If you're playing cash games, no brainer. You're playing Musgrove, FanDuel, and DraftKings. But even in tournaments, I'm overweight to that number because I don't like the ownership on Cueto. I don't like the ownership on Valdez. I don't like the ownership on Tyone. I'm not gonna totally hedge my slate on Dean Kramer. So I'm getting to Musgrove a whole bunch anyway.
Yeah, I mean, to me, he's very clearly the top option. I don't know if I love 65% on a 3-game slate. It's sort of either I'm going to have him in 100% or I'm going to be under the field. Like, I don't think 60% is a really good number to have if that's where the field is. I either want to take a very big stand over or a very big stand under. The most likely scenario for me, my assumption would be under. and then just redistribute that basically to Kramer, and then have all like, I'd probably end up getting to a lot more Yankees and Astros bats that aren't pulling all as much ownership. That's the way the path is looking for me for right now. What about Suarez, who I think at 38% owned is basically spot on the number?
Yeah, he's going to be popular, but here is one of the reasons why I could get behind it. We got that Padres lineup that came out just as we were starting the show. Machado, like we said before, was expected to be back in the lineup today. He's not in the lineup. Luke Voit also out of the lineup. The Padres offense this year outside of Machado has really not been that great. And now we're taking him out of the mix. It's just a much weaker lineup than you might think when you just look at the Padres name on paper. So I don't mind this spot for Ranger Suarez. And I actually think that because of what the lineup is for the Padres today, I think outside of the Baltimore Orioles, I think the Padres probably have the weakest lineup out there today.
By a mile, dude. 98 aggregate weighted runs created plus for the Padres. That is 7 points behind the Orioles. Orioles at 105. They have 5 bats via steamer projected sub 100. Now, granted, Kim is at 99, but 99, 91, 95, 83, and 79. The best bat in the lineup is Hosmer at 111. This is a terrible offense today on a 3-game slate. And that said, they're still like 10 to 15% likely to be the best stack on the slate. That's how baseball is.
Yeah. And it's a team also when, like, if I'm picking sides here, the preference for me is by far Ranger Suarez. I can't tell everybody I don't like every pitcher on the slate. There's 2 that I actually like. That's Musgrove and Suarez. Kramer's just a contrarian play for tournament purposes because I think he's going under-owned. I don't actually like Dean Kramer individually, but I think there's reason to actually like Ranger Suarez in this spot.
We are on the same page there. I certainly like the Phillies a lot more than the ownership shows, but like that's just a natural situation. If Musgrove's in 65% of the lineups, there's an upper bound to how much Phillies you can get to. And clearly in a lineup that doesn't have Musgrove, the chances of it having Phillies bats are pretty high to me, but I think Musgrove should be slightly less owned. And I think the Phillies should be more owned. They are 6th in everything. Top stack, top value, ownership, stack score. I have them a bit higher than that. I would like to go to more Philly stacks. And even if you like Musgrove a lot and have them in half, I would still like to prioritize the Phillies given Musgrove's ownership.
I don't know prioritize is the word I would use, but
bad word.
Yeah, but I think it's a team. If you're playing 5 or 10 lineups, I wouldn't consider the Phillies. But if you get to a spot where you're playing 150 lineups on a 3-game slate, I do think it would be a mistake to write off the Phillies entirely.
Like at 7% aggregate ownership, I would happily take like 12 on the Phillies today. 14. I would happily double that number. Honestly, that doesn't necessarily mean you have to get that far away from Musgrove.
Let's see. What did I end up with? I have 9% Philly stacks.
Okay. Yeah, that's not crazy to me. I probably want to go a little bit higher, but I just think that the leverage is appealing. Like Castellanos, 4% owned. Didi Gregorius, who I don't think is any good, but 4% owned at shortstop. Like there's no reason, like they're just not, a couple of these guys are just not getting the love that they should be getting for the lack of options that exist on a 3-gamer.
Yeah. I mean, also we're going to have Musgrove is going to be also, it's a little different DraftKings versus FanDuel. Like I said before, I'm playing on FanDuel and we don't have Musgrove projected for that much ownership on FanDuel, which is a little surprising to me. Over on DraftKings, he's way, way more popular, which makes sense because it's 2-pitcher site where you have to roster 2 of them as opposed to 1. But Musgrove only being in about a third of the field's lineup on FanDuel, that's wrong to me.
Before we go any further with MLB discussion, I think that everybody here should head on over to stokastic.com/giveaways, or just go check out the @Stokastic NBA Twitter account. We're doing a giveaway today. You have to like the tweet @Stokastic NBA and follow OddsShopper. One lucky winner will win a Stokastic.com weekly pass, so long as Jabari Smith is drafted in the top 3 tonight. And I'm going to let you guys know a little secret. Jabari Smith is going to be drafted in the top 3 tonight. So someone is walking away from this with a week of Stokastic Plus. You guys should go ahead and enter that. And make sure you're following all of the new Stokastic accounts. But I think that you are probably already following them because I think we just changed the name on the old ones. Right, J-Dog? This used to be Awesemo NBA. Yeah, nice. This is going well.
People don't even know that back in the day, J-Dog started as a social media / marketing guy.
I know. We were just like, he's so bad at this. Let's just make him produce.
But see, the thing is that people don't realize that J-Dog is so just flexible. He's like a utility knife. He's got so many weapons. He's got so many things he could do. He could cut his hair to look like different world dictators. He's got so many things that he's capable of doing. They were like, we have to expand his influence and his things to do inside this company. And that's how we got him behind the glass producing these shows.
And yet all those things that he's able to do at stokastic.com, and he still can't use chopsticks. It's incredible.
No, but I'm sure he makes up for it in other ways, though.
I doubt it.
He's got a new nickname.
He does. He does make up for it by being J-Dog. And really, that covers everything.
J-Dog, how do you like your new nickname?
Oh, well, that's what you get. I don't know. Is that reverse psychology? Do you like it a lot and want us to continue to do it? I think that's what we're getting here. So we're just going to keep it going. We're going to keep it going.
By the way, there's, especially if you know our personalities, J-Dog, there was no way that if you wanted this nickname to go away, you just took the wrong tact.
Yeah, for sure.
This is the worst.
Oh, no, we're going to stick to it. I'm going to think of something that you actually dislike, though. We'll get there. All right, so how are we spelling it? D-O-G, D-A-W-G, D-O-G-G.
I prefer double G at the end, so D-O-double-G.
All right, so J-Dogs, because I think there should be a Z in there.
Okay,
so
W-G.
Yeah, D-A-W-G-Z.
Yeah, I think that makes way more sense.
Yeah, and it's like there's multiple of them.
Hey, J-Dog, can we get a poll? I would do it because I can, but it's easier if you do it. So can you make the poll? Which version of your nickname should we go with? I like
J-Dog, J-Dogs. You can go.
I like J-Doge.
Then I mean, something else to consider. Is the J going to be just a J? Is it going to be J-A-Y? There's a lot of different ways you could go here.
Ooh, we could make it a G, but say it like a J, like GIF. We could play on that. Point.
Yeah,
it could be G-Doge.
Yeah, or
pronounce J-Dog.
See, I thought you were spelling it G-A-Y, but we just put the G is pronounced like a J, so it's J, and it's J-Doge.
Yeah. Okay. Oh, man, there's so many options here. So many options. Meanwhile, Sean V's still like, Alvarez owns the Yankees in Yankee Stadium. Oh, man. Imagine for a second being a person that would be like, my play of the day is the gigantic power hitting lefty for the Astros facing a righty in the best lefty power park in the league. What a take.
Anybody who is on Yordan Alvarez here, it's totally sensible. He is going to be nearly 30% owned over on FanDuel, on DraftKings. He is going to be
30,
25 to 30% owned. Yeah, I'm very close to the field on him, and it's totally sensible. If you're there, he might be the best hitter in all of baseball. It is absolutely warranted.
Alvarez owns Yankee Stadium. Fade at your own risk. Yordan Alvarez on DraftKings right now has the 6th most ownership of any hitter. Fade at your own risk. Nobody's fading him. Everybody's playing him.
Yeah, it's not like he's some 3 or 4% owned guy. We're getting there. He's in my build. I'm right around even with the field. This isn't somebody I'm taking a massive stance on. He is in. Let's see.
This is the stuff that I hate about Sean V. This is the reason I can't stand him. Tayon's a horrible play. It's a 3-game slate. You have to play. If you're playing 150 lineups today, you are playing basically everybody in some form.
This is also why, because sometimes people will show up in chat and be like, how come you guys aren't talking about the 2-game slate? The reason that it's hard to do content for a 2-game slate is because if you're ever playing a 2-game slate for baseball and you're playing 150 lineups, you're playing every single player. It's hard to kind of do content for that.
Yeah. And like, well, it's hard to talk about why you're doing things. It's like, I think this team's slightly underowned, so I just have to go the other direction. Like, there's only one way to do it. There's no alternatives. Okay. You guys really got to let the Middleton take thing go. It's years now. Years.
And he's won a championship. He's good.
Yeah. He's got a ring. Sean V is not living rent-free in my head. You guys do not understand how little I think about anything that happens in these shows the moment they're over.
For the most part, it's because you're not sober 5 minutes after they end.
Depends on the show. Strategy shows, stone sober.
Live before lock.
Live before lock, usually less so. 6:53. We've killed 54 minutes by the time that I finish this sentence and add multiple prepositions to the end of it, like this one. I don't even know if that's a prepositional phrase any longer. My English ain't so good.
People bring this up a lot. Why do we reference Sean V on shows? How come he comes up? I'm gonna give Sean V some props for something that you might not like this, Josh. Last year, we get way more engagements on baseball shows than we used to. Chat used to be dead. You know who started getting the discussions going in chat? It was kind of Sean V by posting his takes and people just getting angry and disagreeing with him. That's what started to get engagement going in chat during baseball shows, was Sean V showing up and being one of the first people to post takes, being there regularly and starting discussions with people.
He's like YouTube chat's Skip Bayless. But no one cares about anything after, other than him. There's no actual popularity. There's no way for him to monetize this. It just sucks. But that's what it is. It's drumming up activity. So we appreciate that. We should have made him a plant. I wish he was just like a burner of one of ours, and it's been like this long con. It's not though.
Could be. Who knows?
I think Nick D is looking for a crotch pick from you. So there's that.
Can we see a dong, bro? Well, according to chat, Yordan Alvarez, which is not an unreasonable pick.
J-Dog, show him your dong. No? All right. Put it on the producer cam. No? Can you zoom? Yeah, you deserve that.
What people don't know is that Sean V's actually been Josh the entire time.
I don't have that kind of energy. It's so hard. It's so hard for me to be wrong so frequently, though, you know? You make a career out of being right all the time. What the hell do we do for the next 10 minutes? Or do we pretend everything locks at 7?
Well, we could check on the NBA. We could do that. I've done that more than once. But we could also look at the NBA draft market really quick if you're interested.
I'm not, but I'm more interested than doing the other things.
All right. Well, I was going to say, because I looked it up, Jabari Smith is now a minus 650 favorite at the betting market.
That's good, right?
It is for Team Woj.
Wow, we got 475 people in here, 112 likes. That's the only thing we need to correct right now. There are at least 360 something people that are in this stream right now that have not hit the like button. I think we brought together a pretty damn good show that at the very least entertained you. I don't know if you're going to walk away with it with a lot of great DFS information, but you certainly got an entertaining 56.5 minutes. So hit that like button if you can. If we can get it up to 175, I'd like to consider that a success.
Why 175? Did you just go with the highest number you felt was attainable?
Well, yeah, I figured I can get everybody to 175, and then I'll have enough time to be like, well, now that we're close to 200, and then I can make a second push. Because if I said 200, it usually seems too much. But if I get everybody close, then I can make another one.
Yeah. 2,000 to see J Dog's dong.
There you go. You need a telescope.
It's gonna require a lot of scientific equipment.
Yeah, it is. It is. I'm out of things to say. All right, who are your most exposed everythings? Joe Musgrove and what?
Well, not quite as exposed as some people in chat would like me to be, but exposed. I'll just go through all the positions and talk about the players I have the most exposure to. Starting at pitcher, Joe Musgrove. That should be no surprise. I guess I could go back and forth between FanDuel and DraftKings.
Should I eat a moonshine cherry on the stream?
Aren't those the ones that have been in there for like years?
Like 20 years. I think that I've had these since okay, so I can guarantee. All right. No, not 20 years. That's a bad guess. 13 at the very, well, no, it could be like 15 or 16. The best buy date on here is June 18th of 2010. So the jar of cherries was at the very least in this room for 12 years. Just like if they bought it on that date. I assume maraschino cherries keep for a while, and that these were actually like, I don't know, 2008, 2007, something in that neighborhood. We're talking 15 years.
Mark Stein would eat one for sure.
I'm just kind of curious what they taste like now.
There's no way this is a good idea, right?
No, absolutely not. But that's also why you should do it. If it was a good idea, we wouldn't even be bringing it up. If you guys want to see the effects of what this cherry is going to have on Josh, come watch us on playback later in the day. When an hour from now, the cherry will have time to settle, and we'll be talking about the NBA draft. That's quite.
Do you think I could get sick from this?
Yes.
What, just one? Like, obviously, eating the entire jar, not the best idea.
It depends. I don't know what you got a strong stomach.
We're about to find out.
All right.
Oh, the texture is a real problem. Oh. But first of all, the alcohol is not great. The texture is really, really weird. I got it. Let me just swallow this quickly. Well, maybe not quickly.
That's what she said.
I'd rather have it be that. The texture is somehow mushy and firm at the same time, which I realize does not make a ton of sense.
Are they pitted cherries?
No.
Oh, because I was going to say that would make sense if it's mushy on the outside, but then it's just a pit on the inside.
No. It was just this weird combination of like soft firmness. I don't want that ever again.
Yeah. No, those are not.
Yeah.
There's only one other thing.
Like, hey, remember those moonshine cherries? Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah. I was gonna say there's only one other thing I could think of you could put in your mouth that of that kind of texture. Do you feel like this is going to? Are you going to be feeling this later?
No.
Okay.
No, there can't be that much in a cherry. Like, it can only soak up so much moonshine.
I couldn't tell how big the cherry was, though.
Your standard issue, whatever the fuck size that is, cherry size. I bought us another 2 minutes, man. We only got like 3 minutes and 45 seconds, and we're not stretching this. We're gonna get out of here. There's no reason.
No. Josh is probably gonna have to use the bathroom soon. Do you still want me to? I could run through.
Yeah. Go through your stuff. Sorry. Well, I looked to my right. I saw those cherries and figured I'd go for it.
Yeah, no better time than on a 3-game MLB slate. So bouncing around between FanDuel and DraftKings, starting at pitcher. The pitcher I have the most exposure to on FanDuel is Joe Musgrove. I only played on FanDuel today. I made a DraftKings build for the purpose of talking about it on the show. but I've only actually uploaded my lineups on FanDuel. That's where my money's at tonight. Over on DraftKings, my most rostered pitcher would have been Joe Musgrove. Second most, Dean Kramer. Over on FanDuel, the first base position, the guy I get the most exposure to there is Jose Abreu. Over on DK, I should mention the catcher spot. DK, the catcher I get the most exposure to is Jorge Alfaro. Second is Adley Rutschman. First base on FanDuel, that is also Jose Abreu. Second base, that is DJ LeMahieu on DraftKings. On FanDuel, it's Jose Altuve. Third base, it is DJ LeMahieu on FanDuel, and it is also him on DK because he is second base and third base eligibility. Shortstop, Tim Anderson. Even if I think it's reasonable to get underweight to the field on him, it's hard for him to not be my most exposed shortstop. It's not like I'm taking a massive stand on somebody like a Mauricio Dubon or Ian Kiner-Falefa or anything like, or Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. So I'm a little bit underweight to the field on Tim Anderson, and then it's just a bunch of dart throws at a whole bunch of other shortstops. Outfield, there's a whole lot of guys to like here. Yordan Alvarez, Cedric Mullins, Aaron Judge, Trent Grisham, somebody else that ends up in some of my lineups, Giancarlo Stanton, Michael Brantley. So outfield, a whole lot of guys to get to, but that kind of wraps up who my most exposed players are for tonight.
There we go, everybody. Couldn't be better. 45 seconds, now a minute 40 to go or something like that. Good enough for me. Come watch the NBA draft show tonight. We're going to be live on YouTube. We're going to be live on playback, just like Laffy and I were for the finals. So if you want to watch it with us and you want to see the live broadcast as well, you have that ability. You just have to authenticate with your TV provider. If you just want to hear us, which, you know, we can go either way for this one. Whatever your preference is, it's going to work for you because we're going to be in both spots. The NBA draft is kind of tough because the broadcast is going to be 15 minutes behind Twitter anyway. So that sort of syncing doesn't matter all that much. But good luck to everybody on the MLB slate tonight. Make sure you get your lineups in the next minute. If you haven't done that yet, you've got about 55 seconds. Full day of content tomorrow for baseball, so don't miss it. Good luck. Hit that like button on your way out the door, and goodbye.
The winner, DAWG. No surprise.